You can see on this example I have my guides and grids turned on. I just toggled on W, and you can see this custom outline I created using the pen tool to draw around this complex figure so we can do a very neat looking text wrap. So we're going to be doing that right now. We're going to go down, let's go ahead and go down to page 11, and let's just add a new spread. We're going to go down to the addition, and we're going to click twice. And we just created a new spread, page 12 and 13. Let's bring in that photo that we had. So here's our photo. Let's go ahead and bring this one in. And I'm going to do Command Shift and go ahead and pull that out. So let's go ahead and we're going to create 4 even columns. So there's one thing we can do is we can go to New Document. This is just one way to do it. You can go down to Columns and you can create 2 columns right here. And do create. So this is going to be creating a new document, and it's going to create 2-column layout for you. If you were to make this a spread, let's add another photo, then you can automatically have perfectly spaced columns for you if you want to always keep it 2-column throughout your publication. But let's do it another way. Let's say this is just a 4-column layout all the way across the spread, but we don't want to have other articles have that too. We can use our handy guides over here. So we have our guides that see this ruler going up and across. If you don't see the ruler, you can go up to View. You can hide and show rulers right here in the View option. But you can click on the ruler just like Photoshop and Illustrator, and it's going to go ahead and bring out a guide. So I'm just clicking and holding, and we can go ahead and create kind of our own column layout. And this kind of will just be a guide for where to place our columns. If you ever need kind of some extra guides, this won't be printed or saved with the document. It's just for you to help you as a designer. You can also bring down vertical or horizontal, I should say, guides as well. Just drawing a text box. And we're going to do our placeholder text. So we're going to go over to our Properties panel and fill with placeholder text. And let's do overflow. So we're going to click over here and create an overflow box so that these can be dynamic. And let's also fill this up with placeholder text and repeat. So you remember our paragraph styles where we were able to put spacing between the paragraphs? Well, let's highlight all of our columns of information and let's apply a paragraph style. So let's do the one that we had earlier. Basic paragraph. Our paragraph style earlier was for a darker background. Let's go ahead and recreate a new fresh paragraph style, and we can practice that one more time. So this is going to be for a lighter background, so the type is going to stay black or light gray or dark gray. We're going to go down to our paragraph panel. We're going to check the alignment. Let's have it be nicely justified on the left and right sides. So we're going to do left and right justify with last line aligned left. We're going to add a little bit of indentation between or spacing between the paragraphs. So let's add a little bit of spacing right down this way. So now we got some nice breakage between all of the blocks of copy. We're going to keep it hyphenated since it's a pretty tight column and it's a traditional longer format. So I think we can get away with hyphenations. And that's it. Let's go ahead and save our paragraph style. And we're going to call this light background. So now if I were to ever change all of this paragraph, let's go ahead and revert it back. Let's revert it back to another paragraph style, basic paragraph. So we can go ahead and toggle that to our new light background. And when you load new text, all you have to do is go to your paragraph styles and you have this saved for the next article. You would just click it and you would have to do all the setup each time. So now how do we create this cool text wrap option? If we were to bring in a square and do a text wrap that way, and maybe increase the padding. So we have this box functioning as the text wrap for us to be able to carve out the text wrap over our photo. But how do we make this transparent so we're not seeing this shape? It's just a transparent shape. We're going to go over to our fill panel and there's this default fill and stroke. We're going to click this null option and we're just taking away the stroke and the fill. So those are both null. And let's go over to none. So you can do it that way, or you can go click on each one and make sure the swatch is set on none. So it's going to be transparent. So we have this box that's kind of acting as the text overlap object, and we can shift it around. And so you notice it has a square. So how do we create our own custom shape? Because this is obviously not a square. This is going to take a custom shape. We're going to do the same thing we did with the box, but with the pen tool. So we're going to get our trusty pen tool. We're just going to trace an object around her wherever we want the text to wrap around. We're just going to trace it. And so if you're comfortable with the pen tool in Illustrator and Photoshop, you'll be right at home. I'm just tracing over her. And let me see if I can't switch that to just a stroke so I can kind of see my shape a little bit better. I'm just tracing around, clicking and holding. And if you took the Illustrator section, you've got a lot of pen tool practice already. So now we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to go over to our color panel or swatches, and we're going to click on none. So that totally disappears. There's not a stroke or a fill. It's just a transparent object. And we are going to apply a text wrap option to it. So let's click our move tool over here. We have our object selected, and let's do a wrap around object shape. Just like that, and we can increase and add padding around it if we want to have a little bit more padding. So let's toggle off our W so we don't see any of our lines. And this is what it looks like. So you can do that with any shape. If you have a complex person that you want to do a text wrap around, just take the pen tool, create a shape, make it transparent, and then apply your text wrap options, and you could do any shape imaginable. So we can go ahead and make room for the headline. So let's take our 4 columns of copy and bring it down, and we can just apply a quick little headline right across the way. So just doing a big text box. And we could do the same thing with character styles and create a headline that's consistent throughout our publication. We don't have one yet, but we can always add that. So let's create our nice bold headline here. So I'm going to try this comrade typeface again since we used that earlier, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And let's maybe pick another typeface because that's looking a little bit too digital, computer age kind of thing. I want to kind of soften that a little bit. So let's go down and pick another one. Let's do Azo Sans Uber. That looks like a great typeface. That's nice and bold and will match with the crisis headline. Let's go ahead and make that a little bit smaller. And we can make this red. So let's go to our color swatches. We could pick a nice red, or we can go over and create our custom color. It looks like I need to load somehow my color panel got deleted, but that's no big deal because I can go to Window, click on Color, and there's my color window. Somehow I lost it. Now we can bring everything down. If we have our snap to grid on, it's going to keep that grid for us. Toggle on W to see if it still lines up with the columns, and bring this down. Now we can line up all these columns. Go to our Align panel and line everything up to the top. So align top edges. So it's going to line all of the selected objects to the top. It looks like they're already aligned. And just going to tuck all that in. And we are ready. What I might even do is see how I have everything to the margin. And I might even, for publications, I might even increase my margin in my document because this is the default margin that Adobe InDesign has. And I like a little more breathing room and white space, especially when it comes to typography for editorial spreads. Because if you ever pick up a magazine, a really thick one, and you kind of look toward the middle of the magazine where it's the thickest on the left and right sides, you'll notice that on the inside you kind of have this curving effect, and it's a little bit harder to read text in where the spine is, where it kind of comes together in the spread. So sometimes I like to have thicker margins than the default spacing. So I'm just going to go to File, Document Setup, and I'm just going to increase the margins to, this is in inches, by the way. Let's go ahead and increase it by 50%, 2.75 all around. Click OK. Toggle on our W so we can see our margins, and it's a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to make some quick adjustments. And notice how adding just a little bit of spacing between all of our elements, so around the margin and maybe a little spacing between the headline, and maybe even spacing here in the spine, just like that. All these come together to make it a little bit more professional, a little more breathing room. So I think that spacing looks a lot better. I think it helps the piece to breathe a little bit. It doesn't give you viewer anxiety where type is too close to the edge. So having that extra margin makes it look really a lot more professional. Of course, we're going to have to change the width of the columns here so these columns would match. That's something we could do another day, just going over the very basics of managing large blocks of copy, paragraph management basically, and also incorporating this text wrap to also put something really interesting within the type. Of course, there's little tweaks we could make. Let's say we feel like this is a little too thin to read. No big deal because we can just select the object and then select the photo and then just use our right arrow key on our keyboard and slowly shift her over. So there you have it, some very basic fundamentals of InDesign. And I think one of the best ways to learn, and you'll know that if you've been taking a lot of my classes or if you work through this class, that I love to do practical real world projects, the kind of projects that clients ask you to do, the kind of projects that you're going to do for your own businesses someday. So we're going to do something a little bit more fun, something we haven't done in Adobe products before. You might have seen me do this in Affinity products. I did an Affinity Publisher class where we walk through the creation of this project right here. We are going to design a cookbook. That's right. We're going to do a cookbook cover and a couple of different spreads where we have the recipe. We're going to be able to practice every single thing that we've learned in the last hour and a half. We're going to be able to apply it to this real world project to create something really professional and exciting.